Hi, and thank you for joining us today on Road to Recovery. I'm your host, Ronda Jackson, serial entrepreneur and small business advocate. And today's conversation, I'm going to ask you all sit down, sit still, and come and drink from this water. Okay. This is a very healing and therapeutic conversation. And I think that there will be nuggets here that you just want to sit down and attentively listen to. So, my only ask is that you sit still and really take in this discussion. And for those of you that haven't been here before, welcome. Please, subscribe down below so you don't miss more conversations like this. And then all of you, if you'll welcome my guest, Miss Lisa Sanchez, the author. Hello, Lisa. Thank you for joining us
Hello.
today.
Thank you for having Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. So you and I have a tangled web of connections that led us to this discussion today. But for those that aren't as familiar with you or know you as well, will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. So I am an author of the book Looking for Love in a Garbage Can, born and raised in Los Angeles, California. Went to college here at Cal State Northridge. Also received my master's degree. I am a mom and a human resources executive. I am also the founder and CEO of Just Dig Into It, which is a life coach business.
Lovely. And that coaching and that reservoir of life experience is what we're going to draw and drink from today. So thank you again. But Lisa, one of the ways that I like to start the show is I like to ask guests if they have one word that they would use to describe now. What would your word be?
My word is always self empowerment. Don't rely on anyone else. You are empowered to be your authentic and best self.
Oh, very good. So we don't need permission, is what you're saying.
We do not need permission.
We don't need permission. I love that. Well, let's go with that. I looking for love in a garbage can. All right. So normally when people talk about love, the last word in that sentence usually is not garbage. So as we just the dichotomy in the title itself, can you share a little bit about that and your inspiration for the day?
Absolutely. It very much represents how I felt in my life. Looking for love in a garbage can to me meant I was looking for love in all of the wrong places. I grew up in a violent alcoholic home. And in that environment, my self esteem was broken. My self worth and self value were broken. And I found myself looking for partners who were just like my father. And so I was turning over lids, going into dumpsters, really just being with people I had no business,
Okay.
you know.
Well, I'm glad that you used the word business because I just want to make the parallel and the correlation because our audience and normally our people that tune into this channel are emerging and established entrepreneurs. And there's two things here. So the choice of having Lisa on today and sharing, and the second part of sharing where do you go when you've had all these external and internal forces just pushing and pulling and I like to describe it as being in a dryer with tennis balls or rocks or something, so
Yes,
how do you come out of that, not necessarily unscathed, because those marks, those stripes, we've earned those, right? And that's part of the experience that you'll share later on and how that developed and builds things. But how do we, on the road to recovery, right, how do we take those lessons and create those positive silver linings or create those lessons learned to not, to your point, recreate that and revisit that in our life over and over again?
absolutely. What it boils down to is we go through these experiences in life. And over time, we allow those experiences to define us, which creates limiting beliefs. Those interact with how we make choices, the final decisions that we make. It interrupts our discernment, meaning
Mm.
using good judgment to enter into good relationships with people, whether they're friends, whether in business, at school, or any other type of environment. And so I always like to say it's not enough to lean in. You've got to dig in to whatever experiences you are going through and figure out what that course of action is going to be so you can make better choices and decisions and not be stuck
No.
by those limiting beliefs.
And then can you talk about that just a little bit more, the impact of that limiting belief or no, the cure, or the, you know, the product after curing those limiting beliefs. Can you talk about that and what that experience was like?
So curing limiting beliefs for me was working on my self-esteem,
Okay.
was working on my confidence, building my character. Because when you grow up in an abusive environment, you are defined by the abuser in the home. For me, it was my father. And so it takes a lot of concerted effort to really work through that. And so I had to do all kinds of things to work on my soul: therapy, reading, journaling, latching on to affirmations. I love affirmations. Life will give you whatever experiences are necessary for the evolution of your consciousness. It's
Wow.
Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now.
Power of now. I love that.
Right? So when you work from the inside out, you start flourishing in ways that you never could have imagined. And that really helps build your confidence and your character so
Yeah.
that you're not stuck. I was stuck in blame. I wrote something on my Instagram the other day. I used to live in victimhood. I've chosen to never visit that place again.
Yes.
So I'm getting back to choices.
Mhm. I love that.
That's self-empowerment.
It is. So the gift of discernment, you mentioned that, and the way that the clearing those blockage. I mean, I'm just being overwhelmed right now with emotion, just even hearing you talk about this. So excuse me one second. But the gift of your experiences that give you the discernment. Not all of us are authors, right? Not all of us are journalers, or, you know, have that grasp on the spoken word and express as you. So again, emerging and established entrepreneurs, how can I take my craft as a way to translate, you know, my servitude to the world, my reinvention of myself, and even a release in a certain sense, right, of some of the things that have happened in my life? How can I use up my craft or my talent to do that?
So for me, and for what I think can be very successful, is to find your passion in something. Find your purpose in your cause. For me, it is helping other people dig in and dig out.
Mhm.
And so I'm using my own personal experiences not only to tell my story, but through that story, help people navigate out of what I like to say, sometimes we get stuck in our own quicksand and we can't find our way out. We can't dig our way out if we prayed about it, you know, or anything else that we try to do. So find your passion, find your purpose. And if it is something that you can pay forward, put your passion there. And I guarantee you that is going to flourish into a business.
Mhm.
And so that really is what was the catalyst for even starting my own life coach business.
Your life coaching. No, that's beautiful. So I'm the layers and layers of this, because originally the book was written more as a journal, more as you just kind of, I think you talked about this in some of our conversations, was getting all of that ick out of you,
Yes.
putting it somewhere. And then when you talk about the journey, you walked away from it.
I walked away from my book 10 years ago. Imagine that.
Yeah.
I let it all out. I finished my book in Panama, where my family is from,
Mhm.
my mother's side anyway. And it was like a drop the mic moment. It felt like, whoo, I did it.
Yes.
Fast forward 10 years and then going through the pandemic where we all had time for pause, it allowed for some self-reflection and some introspection
Mm.
that, quite frankly, I didn't have time. Work was busy, everything was busy, life was busy. And not that life has not been busy, but it just gave me an opportunity to stand in my courage. And I always say, courage, vulnerability, they come face to face.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, you've got these stilts underneath your feet and they lift you over,
Over.
over fear, over anxiety. I was protecting people who were still alive. At that time when I finished my book, my parents were still alive, and didn't want to reveal my dirty laundry while my parents were still alive. Fast forward to this time, and I thought, you know what? My parents are no longer on this earth physically. I have a story to tell. I have a healing journey to
Right.
share that I know people will resonate with. And I decided to step out in courage and knock on vulnerability's door, and it just allowed me to open my soul.
I love that one of the keystones in your journey is the sharing part, is the bringing it to others to learn from. And you
Yes,
mentioned this before, like you contributing into others is now, not even a reward, because I don't think you're doing it for any other purpose than just to see other people be well. And I think,
exactly.
the service, the leader servantship that you're displaying in that is just absolutely beautiful. Absolutely.
It's been so rewarding. I tell you, strangers have been reaching out to me on social media. People are reading the book. I'm getting these text messages. I'm reading your book and I'm literally crying right now.
Mm,
Or they'll say, I'm reading your book and I'm cracking up, right? Because I do infuse humor into my book.
okay.
If you can't laugh about things, then
Yeah.
laughter is good therapy. And so I have found ways to put humor in this book, in particular in part two.
Okay, okay, we're looking forward to that. But
Yes.
so, I mean, we got a couple things happening here. Just so you know, everyone, I will put all of the links to the information and the references that Lisa has made in the description box below. You know exactly where the description box is. It's right below that subscribe button. So if you haven't done that already, please do that. But if someone wants a little more guidance on a journey like this and they want someone to share and have as a sounding board, how would they connect with you?
I am happy to connect with anyone who feels blocked or stuck or feel like they just need help navigating through difficulty. They can reach me on my website, www.justdigintoit.com.
Okay.
And that's just dig into it with the number 2.
Okay, and we'll put that link down below so there's no confusion. And then you also mentioned, I know you're heavily active on social media, so we'll add those links as well.
Instagram. I don't use Twitter as much, but certainly Instagram and Facebook
All right.
at Just Dig Into It.
Okay, very good. Then I guess last but not least, but wanting you to share from a guidance standpoint, what's something that you would recommend that every emerging and established entrepreneur do? What's one thing that we should do?
I think it's important to research your industry or whatever it is you're interested in. For me, as opening up a life coach business, I did a lot of research on what does life coach services look like. I found that there are over 50 areas of life coach services, from careers to grief to difficult pathways in life to business coaches. I mean, there are so many. And so I just spent a lot of time doing research. That's
Okay.
an important aspect of it.
All right. But I think that also goes in with the theme of everything you've been talking about this evening, because that discovery process, right?
Absolutely.
It's actually going to be
Absolutely.
all of that. And then that discovery leading to the next discovery and unfolding in front of you to be, I mean, you're glowing. I told you that before when we were earlier on camera. You are absolutely glowing. And
I'm glowing because I've been on this journey. I used to live in such a dark place, but when you dig in and do the work on your insides out, you can't help but glow.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you for sharing your glow. Thank you for sharing your light with us here on the road to recovery. I would love it if you come back. You mentioned a part 2 to the book, so we will be here for you, waiting,
Absolutely.
waiting. But thank you again for joining us today. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it so much. Okay, and I didn't have that one of those crazy faces at the end.